So paying your bills online is a very easy process. It's a simple process once you've got used to it. And what it does for you, particularly if you're locked down, which a lot of us have been at different times because of the COVID restrictions, it also frees up your time, and it saves you money. For some vendors that you pay offer discounts if you give them direct debits for regular payments. So we'll move on to the agenda. All sorts of things can be paid, as you're probably aware. So the agenda discusses the types of bills you get, bill frequency, payment options, hints and tips.
All right.
So I'm just reminding the session is being recorded for future use by Stocklands, so they can use it again to send you copies of or run it at different times in their villages. If you want a copy of this presentation, if you email chris@itforretirees.com.au, she will send you a copy of the PowerPoint for your information. You'll see the details of that will come up at the end when we have the discussion on the Be Connected website. So the types of bills you get are all a little bit different. Everyone's used to utility bills, gas, electricity, water, your phone and internet, your council rates, insurance, health, car, house and contents. You might take out travel insurance if you're allowed to travel. Doesn't look like we'll be doing much travelling for a long time, particularly out of the country anyway. So.
Oh, we can now go 25 k's.
Yeah. Well, I can go anywhere in Queensland. I can go as far south as Ballina in New South Wales.
Oh, you can't cross the border, can you?
No, we can as far as Ballina.
Yeah.
In northern New South Wales. But if I go to Sydney to visit kids and the grandkids and come back, I have to quarantine for 14 days at my expense in a hotel.
Yeah.
So it's a bit unlikely that we'll be doing that shortly. So other bills you have are donations, mortgage and rent, medical expenses, sometimes subscriptions and memberships. Like I'm a civil engineer, so I have an annual membership fee of the Institution of Engineers. So one sort of, I guess it's housekeeping, is with your bills, is to divide your bills up into 3 piles basically. Like they show a filing tray here. As you get used to using your computer, you can use your computer to have folders where you store your bills and don't have to have paper copies or print them out. But it's a matter of how used you are to using a computer. So anyway, if you get your bills are basically the same amount each month. They go in the first pile. Things like loan repayments, health and car insurance, etc. And for these, you would automatically, the best thing to do is set up automatic payments for these recurring bills. Just bearing in mind, you should always make sure if it's linked to a credit card or your bank account that if you have to transfer money from one place to another, that you've got sufficient funds to pay those bills, because you don't want to have a default come through on a payment which will cost you a fee from a bank or a credit card supplier. Next thing, regular bills that vary in usage. There are things like gas, electricity, internet, phone if you don't have fixed plans, your water. And you can either set these up as payments you do when they're due or automatic payments as well. Then you have things like ad hoc bills, which are donations, gifts, specialist fees, and these could all be done or would have to be done manually because they're not bills you regularly see. So now we get on to your payment options. Credit cards and debit cards, they look almost identical with 16 digits. They have expiration dates. They have PIN numbers associated with them. Credit cards give you access to the line of credit that's issued by the bank, so you have predefined limits that you can pay up to. And credit cards offer a greater consumer protection because when you use your credit card, if there's a dispute, you can call the bank because they haven't actually taken the money off you yet, and they'll take up disputes with vendors that are no fault of your own. And it sort of eliminates an element of fraud as well, potentially. Debit cards, they have lower fees because they're not usually charging a surcharge because the money is deducted directly from your bank when you use it comes out of your cash account when you use your debit card. But as I said, there's less protection because the money's already gone. So if you have a dispute, generally speaking, you're going to be on your own to try and recover. Also, in saying that, some of the debit cards that are issued are through a credit card supplier, so they're not, even though they're debit cards, they do offer a little bit more protection because they're through Visa or MasterCard where they're issued, but they're still linked to your bank account. So we'll move on to the next slide. Accessing your bank account. Online banking is a nice, easy way to pay, but it does come with risks if you're not careful. Just as you hear of people being robbed at ATMs or having cards cloned, online accounts are also a point of vulnerability. So you should always make sure you've got a strong password, which should be a mix of upper and lowercase letters and numbers. You can use special characters, symbols like exclamation marks, question marks, but bear in mind some banks won't let you use symbols in passwords. So, if you try and do that, you'll get a prompt saying it's not an allowed character. Oops, I accidentally clicked the screen. You should always secure your device. Make sure your antivirus software is up to date. Make sure you use passcodes where you can. And sometimes you can use two-factor authentication. Never click on an email that purportedly comes from a bank with a link in it. It's generally a scam or a spam. And you should never do banking or payments from a public Wi-Fi. If you're out somewhere and you need to make a payment, just use your mobile network's Wi-Fi rather than public Wi-Fi that might be available. The two-factor authentication is always good because it allows you to make sure you got your phone handy, your computer. If you want to authorize a payment, they will send a code to you verifying it is you making the payment, and you enter the code and then authorize payment. And when you're on the bank, when you're finished, always log out of the bank's network and then close the browser associated with it. Also, always look for the HTTPS and the green padlock to make sure you're on a secure website. Monitor your accounts regularly, which is easy to do when you're banking online because you can access your account, any time of the day, any day of the week. And make sure within the settings of your bank system, you set up notifications so the bank will send you texts and emails saying a bill is due, this transaction has happened, etc. Just in case something suspicious happens, you'll get a notification. So 3 things we should try to remember today is always create a strong, unique password.
What about changing passwords? How regularly should you do that?
They recommend you should change your passwords regularly, just in case. But I mean, for some people that's difficult to do because you might have difficulty remembering passwords.
Well, I was about to say they also tell you to use different passwords for different things, but that gives you a lot, and not to write your passwords down, which makes it very difficult to.
There is, I'm not the expert in security, but I find I have some passwords that I like.
Yes.
And I've used for years, and I've used across a few sites, even though people say you shouldn't do that. But I think if it's a secure site and I don't write any passwords down, luckily I can still remember.
Yep.
So when I get to the point that I can't, I probably have to use, like in the virus software that you have, there's password keepers. So you can put your passwords in there, but it has a lock. So the password that you create is locked up in a vault, like it's like being in a safe. But to enter the vault, you have to generally have a PIN number.
Right.
So I guess the advantage of that is you only have to remember, either a 4 or a 6-digit PIN number.
Right.
Sometimes also they can be set up where they'll send you a link to your phone to enter a code to open the vault.
Yeah.
So that's another way of doing it. They always say don't let the browser, because you always, when you log on somewhere, whether it's a bank or any site with a login and a password, like the browser says, do you want me to keep this password? Save it. Save the username and password. So it's a good idea not to do that.
Right.
Because if your computer gets hacked and someone gets into your Firefox or your Google browser, they'll be able to find those details. So,
yep.
So in the meantime, I know most people are writing passwords down on bits of paper and hiding them away somewhere. But that's why these systems, and I mean, I was talking with someone this morning on the very topic of this because I was doing the same presentation to another group earlier this morning, and one of the ladies there, she had invested in a locked password keeper. It was costing her about, she said, $25 a year or something for a system which was secure and saved her passwords. But I know for a fact that they've got the systems within the virus software generally.
Right. Okay.
So if you have a look on your whatever device you're using, have a look at the virus software and see if it has got that feature or whether you can add it to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So always look for that HTTPS symbol that I was talking about earlier. Generally speaking, if you were shopping on, just say something I can think of that I bought stuff off. I don't know if you've heard of HoseLink, right? They sell hoses and fittings and
I think I've heard of this.
So when you do a bit of shopping, and then when you say yes, I want to check out, you'll see the change on the checkout when you go to pay. So the initial website mightn't have the HTTPS, but it should when you go to make a payment. if it doesn't go to the green padlock, don't make a payment there. So always avoid entering personal information such as credit card, bank account details, and passwords when using public Wi-Fi. So if you're out and about and you're using your mobile phone or your iPad on a public Wi-Fi, don't do any of that type of activity. If you've got payment apps on your phone, for instance, or if you have to do something and you're in a public space, use your phone as a Wi-Fi hotspot, which will allow you to securely do something on your device without being exposed to the public Wi-Fi system. So paying your bills online, this is the website of the Be Connected, and they have exercises you can do. I don't know if you can note. Can you see the bar up there?
Yes, yep.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a.
See this?
Oh, there's the lock as well.
There's the lock. Sometimes it's coloured green. And
Yep.
there's the HTTPS,
Right.
which is indicating it's a secure website. So here's the different ways to pay for goods online, which we've basically talked about, but we'll just go through the process.
Is the
So-
PayPal any more secure than credit cards?
Yeah, PayPal is definitely a good medium to use. I use it almost exclusively when I'm buying something online because it's a buffer between your bank or your credit card and the vendor. And PayPal doesn't charge you for using their service. You can set up an account when you pay for your goods. PayPal makes the payment to the vendor as soon as the goods are dispatched. If there's any dispute, they guarantee to take it up for you, generally get you a refund and give you free shipping on return. So even if you've bought something that's not faulty necessarily, it might not suit you, as long as you haven't used it or whatever, you can return it and they will get the refund for you. So it takes a bit of the heat and the trouble out of things that you might do.